Hey everyone, either welcome back or welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I want to give some tips on how to succeed in your university life while living with IIH. But before we get too far into the video, time for the intro. Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Stewart. So 2018 was actually a pretty hard year for me, but it was also a pretty good year too. So I completed my bachelor's degree in biochemistry, but at the same time, I was also diagnosed with a rare condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension, or IIH. Some of you may also know this by its older name called pseudotumor cerebri. So if you're curious to learn more about what it's like to live with this rare condition, then I encourage you to watch on. Don't forget to subscribe, and I upload new content every Monday and Thursday afternoon. I want to give my tips on how I managed to get through those few months where I was sick without knowing it. You guys will have a little bit of an advantage if you actually have been officially diagnosed with IIH, and you'll probably have some extra options to help you through that I guess I technically didn't have, being that I wasn't officially diagnosed at the time. It's really, really good to talk to as many people as you can, especially in the first few weeks. Talking to others is a good way to make friends. The best way to actually make friends is to join clubs. So find something that interests you and join that club. If you can, join a group that you share something in common. You don't need to share everything in common, but if you share something in common, it will help get through that first initial little bit of homesickness and all of that. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I actually made when I first went to school. I wanted to kind of get a handle on what my course load was going to be like, what my schedule was going to be like. And by the time I kind of figured this out, it was already halfway through the semester, and the clubs weren't really recruiting at that point anymore. So you have to be proactive about it. You're gonna have to put yourself out there. And trust me, as an introvert, this is probably one of my biggest struggles. The first month is gonna be your best opportunity to have the time to explore different options about what you might want to try if there isn't something that automatically interests you, or if to get to know others before your schedule really picks up academically. My best university experiences occurred after I had gotten acquainted in the group that I was in. And hands down, it was the best experience of my life. I cannot stress how much that helped me get through my most difficult times, which I didn't realize were going to be ahead. Make an attempt to get to know your professors as best as you can. Now, in a 500 person course, which was the biggest courses that I ever had to take during my university life, which was a majority of my first and second year courses that had the 500 person courses, if you show an interest in the subject and make it known to the professors that you actually do care, then it will be easier basically to communicate with them if you ever do have an issue during the semester. This is one thing that I made an effort to do, was to get to know my professors, but because of the lack of evidence of what was going on. So I didn't have specific blood tests. I didn't have a diagnosis. I didn't actually ever talk to them about what was going on. I just kind of dealt with it and went on because there really wasn't much evidence to prove what was going on besides how I was feeling. And I basically had just accepted that it was stress, and that as soon as my exams were over that I would be feeling better. You're gonna be dealing with some things as they come up, and you're gonna make the decision on how you actually do that, how you actually get through it. Pretty much the worst thing that can happen while you're in school is if you get sick during a big block of exams because you're not going to be in your best focused state in order to do your exams, and those are what goes a majority to your marks. So, but I guess my biggest tip on this is don't stress about one bad exam. I failed many, many midterms during the course of my university career, and I never had to repeat a class. Some of Now it's going to depend on what you're aiming for. I wasn't aiming for a specific mark to get into a professional school, but if you can pretty much get away with doing quite well in classes, even if you have a very bad midterm, you're just going to need to pick up that effort in everything else, and you will have a bit more pressure on yourself during the final exams. You're going to usually have more time to deal with the fact that you need to study a little bit more during finals. Sometimes you do get or sometimes I would get a chunk of finals that was really, really close together. So I actually had to study for multiple classes at once. This kind of happened to me more at the end of my degree, which was perfectly fine because there was tons of overlap by the time I got to my last semester when I actually wasn't feeling good. I would be studying for one class and then I'd be like, I'm just going to pay a little bit more of attention to the detail in this part because I know I have to know for my other class. So, it was about a little bit. I kind of got a little bit lucky by taking the courses that I did in the end because it basically made it easier to study for multiple courses. There are going to be times when you're taking unrelated courses and it's going to be like, feel like something is taking away from what you consider more important. But remember that your classes all do count towards your degree. You probably are going to find that your marks do drop off from what you were used to in high school. My last semester, actually, when I was under the most stress, my grades actually came up even more. I know but it was really because I had such low midterms that I was like freaked out that I wasn't going to graduate. And it's unfortunate because usually what you find out is you find out your best study techniques just when you're finishing. Kind of want to talk about how I managed this IIH situation. Both of the previous two things that I mentioned were both humongous in helping me through my IIH. I told my friends when I graduated, I said, I don't know if I could have done this last semester without this amazing group of people here. It's so difficult to explain to somebody when they're basically your friend and you have someone to kind of share your thoughts and how you're doing with them. And it's just incredible on how much they helped me get through that. So I can't thank them enough. I didn't spend quite as much time on campus during when I really, really started to feel bad. That period was really, really rough, but it was, I don't know, it was the most learning I've ever done post experience. So I think I would probably repeat it exactly the same as I did before, even though it was probably one of the hardest experiences I ever went through. I now want to give a couple of tips on what I did during my routine to kind of optimize what I was dealing with so that I could get through my day. And this was basically just to maintain my academics. It was live day by day, let's take it one day at a time, and I made a schedule every single day of the stuff I absolutely had to get done, especially towards the end of the semester. I was really starting to run out of steam. I figured out very early on that when I woke up in the morning is when I was generally feeling the best. This is different between everybody. This is going to work to your advantage if your schedule for exams works like mine did, where you're just doing exams during a certain period of time. Once I knew that based upon my experience before, I wasn't worried because I knew once I got past that initial or that final push towards the end of the semester and exams started, I knew I would be fine because I knew that the routine pretty much changed. The difference was that I don't think I spent quite as much time on campus to study as what I was before, and that's before my actual exam started. Once I started doing exams, I would definitely be on campus. I know that I got to a point where I was really having trouble focusing while at home, so I had no choice but to go to campus. It was a lot of self-talk, self-motivation, trying to get through that final push. Basically, when you're dealing with if you ever get sick while you're in school, find out what works for you and try your best to work around it. Like I said, I kind of got lucky in that case because of it worked to my schedule that I already had pretty much. It was just I wouldn't study as late as what I normally would before. The reading took a lot of energy out of me. Doing mental work took a lot of energy out of me. But I'm a little bit lucky in the fact that as soon as I start concentrating, I'm usually okay. But there was definitely a little bit of a struggle with the fact that I was having double vision. It was really, really difficult for me to focus on what I needed to focus on because it was everything. I was seeing two of everything. I want everyone, even people who've been diagnosed younger with IIH, to be able to have a chance to think that there's a possibility that you can attend university or you feel like you're doing a lot less work but you're actually doing much more, and I don't want anyone to feel like to be discouraged because of the demand of how much energy it can take to do a science degree. So we need more people in the sciences, and one of us could potentially be working somewhere where one of us makes a breakthrough with IIH or other chronic illness, invisible illnesses. So you don't want to tell people that you can't do something. And the thing is, it may not be the right time now, but the best thing about post-secondary education is the fact that it's never too late. You can do post-secondary education later into your adulthood. You might feel a little bit out of place with all the young faces around, but honestly, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who wait a little bit before going to school. It was honestly the best decision I made was actually waiting until I was a little bit more mature before heading to school. If you guys have anything that you would like to add to the comments down below, I would love to hear from you. And as for now, that's it for today. Bye everyone.